Welcome to You, Me, Empathy. Thank you for listening. We would like to remind you that this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only, and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Known as just a silly boy with a feely heart. Please consider supporting the show. Check us out on Patreon or simply leave a review on iTunes. Here's your host and creator of the show, Known Wells.
Hello, feely humans. Welcome to another episode of You, Me, Empathy. My name is Known Wells, and I'm here today to talk about episode 77 of You, Me, Empathy. Today with my guest, Angela Rosenthal, we talk about the burdens of being a fixer, how we love ourselves better, getting in touch with our sexuality, and being more of us in the world. Angela is awesome. I love Angela, and she's doing great work she does energy healing. She really heals people with energy and Reiki and facials and yoni steams. These are things I had to look up, but she's awesome, and she had a lot of profound things to say in this episode. But there are two questions, and I list them in the show notes. So if you want to go there and respond, or you can respond on Instagram. But there's two questions Angela brought up during this episode that I thought were just so beautiful and profound, and I wanted to ask you here because it's something I think is really important. The first question is, how do you be you in the world? How do you be you? Like, what does that look like? And I think the core of that is like, who are you? What are you about? And being curious about who you are, what your identity is, and how that relates to your mental health is so important. So how do you be you in the world? Think about that. The other question I wanted to ask, and this is, again, from Angela, it's what if we can love ourselves better instead of shaming ourselves into submission? And we talk a lot today in this episode about loving ourselves better and how we can love ourselves better and the shame component of that. And I just thought those two questions were great and very thought-provoking. I've been thinking about them, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Before we get to the episode, I just wanted to give a little update, a personal update. So, and you'll hear this in a few months because I mentioned it in a conversation with Rochelle Friedman. But this thing happened last night. I woke up at 3 in the morning to the sound of someone running down our street yelling, "Fire, fire!" Wake up, fire, fire. I woke up with my wife in bed, and I look out through our window and see that there's a fire next door. I think it's next door. I think my initial thought was, oh shit, our house is on fire. The fire was 10 feet in the air, so we sort of frantically grab things. We get Scooby in the car, we grab, pictures and hard drives, and we're ready to go, Thank goodness, everyone was okay. Our neighbors, it was a shed in the background of our next door neighbors, in their backyard. A shed burnt down, but the fire department came. They put it out. No one was hurt or injured. Thank goodness for that. But it's just it really kind of rattled us, and I've been I'm 10 hours after it, and I'm still sort of have this anxiety state, and it's just a reminder that anything can happen, anything can happen. And, we Jessica and I were joking that we're on this and this may be a trigger warning for anyone dealing with disordered eating. But I've been put on this elimination diet, and Jessica's in solidarity sort of eating with me. And Jessica was making the joke of fuck it, let's just eat whatever because we eat whatever because life is so short and anything can happen. It's just you have those moments in life where, obviously we're fine. We're okay and everyone's okay, but it could have gotten worse. It could have been much worse, and it's just, life is short. And spend time doing the things that you love, the things that you're passionate about, and certainly Yumi Empathy is one of those things for me. It's really the core at what I love to do, and giving people safe spaces and connecting with others. And I just wanted to share that, be open about that and transparent. And it was wild. So that happened. Let's get into the episode. Okay. So this is episode 77 with my guest, Angela Rosenthal, on the burdens of being a fixer, how we love ourselves better, getting in touch with our sexuality, and being more of us in the world. Enjoy. Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, a podcast about exploring the struggles we face in our day-to-day lives as humans trying to get by on this wondrous and overwhelming pale blue dot. The intent of You, Me, Empathy is to talk openly, without judgment, about our neuroses, our mental illnesses, our shared anxieties and worries, to create a dialogue that is vulnerable and deeply human and empathetic, and to share that dialogue with others to inspire emotional and cognitive collaboration and insight, so we can, hand in hand, break down the stigma that make us feel shame and guilt for struggling, for feeling our feelings, for being human. You, Me, Empathy is a safe, friendly space designed to inspire the beauty in each of us. Today, I'm overjoyed to embark on another empathy adventure with inward-looking, rabbit-hole-exploring writer, guide, and healer Angela Rosenthal. Hello, Angela.
Hi, that made me smile so much.
I'm glad. I'm smiling too. Look at us, a couple of smiley, feely humans.
I know, right? That was so lovely. I love the way you introduced all of that. That was great.
Oh, thank you. Well, thanks for being on You, Me, Empathy.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here.
Good.
Nervous.
Well,
I'm excited.
That's good. That's good. I'm excited too. We're both excited. Before we get into your story, Angela, let's do a little check-in. We always start the show talking about how we're feeling right now, how our week has been. How are you doing?
I'm really good right now. I'm a little nervous because this is being recorded, and that always makes me nervous, but I'm really, really good. I think I have to say I'm really good. It's been a chaotic few weeks. 2019 came out with a woo, but but I'm good. How are you?
I am pretty good. Hold on. I'm not going to allow you to... I need follow-up questions. I'm just kidding. But no, I'm good. I do want to explore a little bit. So, first of all, why do you think you're in a good place right now?
Oh, why do I think I'm in a good place?
Yeah, what's going on there? What are the components of this sort of good space you're in?
Peaceful and calm, and I can feel my joy and my brain isn't spinning. Is that kind of is that what we're looking for? Tangible answers?
I mean, those are great answers.
Yeah. I'm really good.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah. Me too, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's because, the start of any new year can be hard, right?
Oh, dude, seriously. I quit one of my jobs. I'm embarking on opening my brick and mortar business again. We moved houses. I filed my divorce papers. My son got the flu. My new house started leaking. It's been 3 weeks of holy crap.
So how are
That's
you?
all.
I mean, that is a lot, Angela. That is a lot.
I,
Like more
I
than
know.
any human can handle. How are you maintaining your sanity?
Um, through writing,
Yeah,
um,
nice.
through respecting my experiences, um, through validating my own feelings, having my own back, which is something, all of those things I have been learning over the last year, things that I didn't even know that I could do. Um, Simple, really breaking it down and letting go of forcing myself to do things that I hate using the word can't, but that I am choosing not to because I am unable to give it the mental and emotional, I don't have the capacity for it at that moment. So I stepped back from writing for a little bit because holy crap, my world was in chaos. Focusing on my kiddo and snuggles and having good conversations with other feely humans, supporting other people. That's sometimes what brings me back. I definitely, I don't know if I love the word healer. I use it because I feel like that's my purpose on the planet, but I really do believe that we heal ourselves, that nobody can heal us. But having those conversations with somebody else, being able to hold space for them in their chaos really brings me back to myself. Does that make sense?
Oh, it absolutely makes sense. It's
Yeah.
like 100% of where I want to be, and I think, I mean, I would argue that we're all kind of looking for that healing place and
Yeah.
seeking that healing place, and there is so much learning about ourselves that we can do when we can kind of open up to others and give other people safe space.
Oh, it changes my world. It's what I've done unknowingly since I was a child, but in my career for 20 years, it kind of developed more and more and more. And that moment where you can see somebody actually crack open and let themselves be seen, I don't know that there's anything better than that moment in my human existence.
Oh, I agree. It's one of the most beautiful moments that we can experience as humans.
Honoring and humbling and yeah, that vulnerability, yeah, that's better than chocolate even, I swear.
Oh, come on, you lie. You lie.
I I don't. I love chocolate, but to be there while somebody looks at me and just goes, I don't know if I can do this, and just starts crying and I get to just sit there with them, that is, yeah.
Oh, it's
I'm
amazing. Yeah. No, of course I'm joking. I love chocolate too, but yeah, nothing can
yeah,
compare to that space.
right?
Yeah. Well, I really want to delve into that for you specifically. I just wanted to honor your question to me and how I'm doing. I'm doing pretty well. I think that, like you, we had recent roof leaks about a month and a half ago, and then we had another big storm, and we're having more roof leaks in the same spots,
Oh,
which is just one of those things where I'm just like, I think back and I'm just like, well, it was supposed to be fixed and it's not, and that was a waste of time and energy and money, and that's frustrating to me. But you know what? I'm being better about just kind of being okay with it and not, because the reality is that I can't really control too much of that stuff, and fretting about it isn't gonna change anything. It's not gonna stop the rain coming through the roof. So I've been sort of self-talking myself into like just peaceful acceptance and understanding that things will be fixed when they're fixed, you know?
yeah, yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, so we're gonna have a roofer, like an actual professional roofer, out next week, and it's gonna cost us more money than we have, but I think I'd rather do it right, you know?
Of course, do it right, and then you don't have to do it again. My son and I just had this conversation, and he's 12, and so trying to help him understand and forward think and he's going to buy himself a pair of climbing shoes because he loves climbing. And there was a pair of shoes that were $60, but they just barely fit him. And he's 12 and he's just about to hit puberty. And then the size bigger was now an adult shoe and it was $110. He's like, well, this one's 60. I'm like, but it might only last you for this long. And then you're going to need to come back and spend the $110. So now you've spent $170 instead of $110. It's like, if you do right the first time, you don't anyway. Sorry. That.
I love it. That's a good little life
Teaching
lesson.
moments, right?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, so he made the choice to buy the $110 ones now. So proud of him.
Excellent. Excellent. Good choice.
Mm-hmm.
So Angela, let's dig into your story, shall we?
Okay.
Well, let's start with just a couple of seminal moments from your childhood, your young adulthood, adolescence, wherever, just kind of moments that stick out in your brain that speak to who you are today.
Oh my goodness.
Big questions.
I'm like, what? That is like so. I have this creepy memory where I can remember so many things very vividly. So I'm like, where do you want me to start? Since we're talking about being feely humans, I mean, always an empath. And when I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and so one of the things that I've really had to work through, especially because the healer piece and the empath, is growing up, my place was essentially, my name is Angela, and I had the joke that I'm the angel of the family. So constantly the one who was in charge of making sure that everybody was safe and alive, and loved my mom to death. And she was one of 10 kids. So it's kind of, you take care of each other, right? That's the way she was raised. But I took it on as it was my responsibility to then heal everybody. And if I didn't, it was sort of life or death. And my worthiness was attached to it because of the way that I was raised. So whether it was putting my feelings aside and taking care of my younger siblings, or being the one to be in charge of, oh my gosh, this sister is on drugs, or this sister is dating this crazy person, and it's my responsibility then to fix it. Mm-hmm. And so that has been a bit of a journey to separate, yes, this is what I'm passionate about and what my purpose is, but separate that from needing to fix and having it connected to my worthiness. Does that?
I mean, I 100% relate to that. I mean,
yeah,
I wasn't the oldest, but I was the second oldest, and I certainly have the sort of compulsion to fix and to heal and to help. You know, I'm a type 2 Enneagram, and so I can take that. I certainly, and type 2s can take that too far, to our detriment.
Yeah, I am just learning about the Enneagrams, and I mean, I listened to a bunch of podcasts on it. I'm like, I feel like I'm all of them, but when I down, definitely somewhere between a 4 and a 2. Although one of my girlfriends who's really into this stuff says that when a 4 sort of defaults to a basic, there are 2, and I see myself in both of them very strongly. So yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, I was strongly on a 4 as well.
Yeah.
So what emotionally, what did that feel like? Like, did it feel like, so I'll just like use an analogy for myself. Like for me, because I was in a similar position, I felt like at times it was all a little bit too much, and I didn't know what to do with it, and I wanted to wrap some sort of control around that emotional energy I'm putting out toward my siblings or friends or whatever, and it felt overwhelming. Like, walk me through a little bit of your sort of emotional experience at that time. Did it feel overwhelming? Did you turn to sort of bad habits to like squash the overwhelm? What was going on?
I don't know if I would specifically use the word overwhelm, because I am tenacious as, am I allowed to swear on here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm tenacious as fuck, right? Like, so you give me the challenge and I will step up to it. So especially because now that I've dug underneath, it's like that was attached to my only reason for being loved is if I could fix them. And so I'm going to do everything I can to make that a reality. So I took it on. I stepped up. I made whatever phone calls I needed to do. I would be there. And I'm going to fix everybody. And I did it. I just kept going until I couldn't fix somebody. And then it was like, well, what's my worth? And that became very, very anxiety producing, and then connected to deep depression and loss of my identity. Because if I'm not that, if I can't fix and heal everybody, well, then who am I? And why would anybody love me? Why am I here? What is my purpose?
Right. What were your parents like? Were they seeing this sort of side of you, or were they around? Like, what was their sort of care like in the household?
It's interesting because if you would have asked me that like when I was younger, very different answer. Now I see my parents as other feely humans and how they were just trying to survive. My dad, I'm a bit of an astrology geek, so my dad's very much a Capricorn. And so very solid, very non-emotional, very sort of stereotypical work absent father type idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mom wanted to overcompensate for that. So trying to make everything better. She's Scorpio Libra, and so wanting everybody to get along and all of the things. So, but definitely put it on me. Love my mom to death, but put it on me to take care of everybody. Finding boundaries with her, has been probably the most difficult place to find boundaries with anybody that I've had boundaries with in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So,
was there, I mean, you being the oldest often finds themselves in that role. I mean, my sister certainly did, but I think she did because my parents weren't around a lot in a lot of ways. I'm wondering if you sort of filled that role because your father was maybe emotionally absent.
I don't know if I felt. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it was more just my mom had 5 kids, and so you're good at this, and so you do it. You're the oldest. This is sort of the role that you play.
She needed help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm 39 now, and so this is as recent as 2 years ago. My middle sister, so she's 4 years younger than me, there was an explosion at my parents on their 40th wedding anniversary. And my mom was texting me the next day going, please do this. I'm like, I love you, but I'm not going to, like, I sent my sister a text message and she hasn't responded. I'm not going to bloody my fist banging on a door that somebody doesn't want to open. And so she's starting to respect. It's been an amazing transformation in our relationship. But yeah, when she couldn't do it, she would look to me to do it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Can you, obviously in retrospect, like you maybe wouldn't use the word healing or actually fixing, but like, or maybe I'm putting words in your mouth. Can you walk me through a little bit like of the types of things that you were doing around the house, helping with your siblings and with your mom? Like what were you doing exactly?
I would say it was more of an emotional support thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just stepping in when she didn't have the capacity to do it. I can remember, well, you asked about early memories. And so I remember I would have been maybe 3.5 when my middle sister was born, 3.5, almost 4. And my sister below me is very, very highly sensitive. And I remember her being a mess. So she would have been not quite 2 and I'd been not quite 4. And keeping it together in order to emotionally support her because mom was leaving. So that was sort of my role. Does that explain? So it wasn't like, I mean, I was always out with my friends, I wanted to be away from the house. But if one of my siblings needed me for emotional support, or, one of my sisters was getting bullied, like, don't fuck with my family. But other than that, I'm going to be out with my friends. So yeah, that was sort of the role, I think.
Were you an anxious child?
Oh yeah, my whole life.
Yeah. I
Like
mean, I'd
hours.
imagine that's a lot to take on.
Yeah, we moved a lot as a kid. I was in 8 different schools between kindergarten and grade 12.
Why all the moving?
My dad is an electrical engineer and also a farmer.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, yeah, family farm. I mean, I'm in Canada, so in Saskatchewan, my dad still owns land that my great grandparents settled on when they came over from the Ukraine and from Germany. And so it's in his blood and he loves doing it. But in the 80s, and there was drought, and he's the sole breadwinner of 5 kids. You move wherever his contracts were for engineering. So we moved a lot. And so always anxiety about who I needed to take care of and when the next shoe was going to drop type idea. So I remember laying in bed for hours thinking about conversations I'd had, or how I could have done it differently, or preparing myself for every possible outcome so that I would know how to respond.
Oh my goodness.
Very much needing to control all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine all the moving around and the new schools couldn't have helped with that.
No, especially when you have younger siblings that you want to watch out for because you're in charge of them at school.
Right. Wow. Yeah. I mean, you hear, stories. I mean, I moved around a bit, maybe 5 or 6 times, but I didn't go to too many different schools. But you hear stories of like kids like having to like go around and then create new friends, and that's fracturing to the identity.
Oh, well, 8 different schools, some of them more than once. Like I started kindergarten with kids that I graduated high school with, but I only went to school with them for maybe 3 or 4 years in that 13 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I mean, I look back and I see how I have this ability to talk to just about anybody now, and I can make friends wherever I am. And that has been a great plus in that moving around. But it's taken me a lot of years to be able to form long-term relationships, because I never had before friendships could have any sort of issues or hard conversations. We always moved. So I never had the capability of even knowing how to have long-term relationships until in probably my late 20s.
I mean, and then, the added sort of wrinkle of your establishing this side of yourself that's the caretaker, and you're taking all this on. Like in that space, there's not a lot, at least in my experience, there's not a lot for self-discovery because you're taking on everything.
Yeah, well, I was always the good kid with all the bad kids in school too, right? I was always the always. Yeah. So there was that.
Like, you were friends with the quote unquote bad kids?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Like I remember being in high school and all my friends, you're 15, 16. All my friends were drinking, smoking pot, having sex with boys, and I was their friend. I was the one who would listen, and I was always the good kid. I didn't drink or any of those things, but my mom was always terrified, but I was always the good kid with all the quote unquote bad kids. It's very funny.
That is interesting, and it kind of I was probably the bad kid. I mean, I was drinking and smoking, 13, 14.
Yeah.
Good stuff, growing stuff.
Yeah.
How's your relationship with your siblings now?
We're all pretty estranged at this point. I have the one sister right below me. We always had a very fascinating dynamic of me in the role of supposed to be taking care of her needing me to take care of her, and then being angry that she needed me to take care of her. So we always had this sort of push-pull right up until when, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And she started doing some inner work, some inner healing. And we would go over there, my son and I would go over there, and it would be a lot of conversation about her memories from our childhood and our parents, but just wanting to like get it out and vent and be very angry, but then shut down the entire conversation to not then dive in or have a conversation about it. And so it became a little bit too drama filled, if that sort of makes sense. And now we text on birthdays and Christmases, and that's about the extent of it. The sister below that, we don't really have much to do with each other. She kind of disappears. She's notorious for messaging, and then you message back, and then it's nothing for about 6-8 months, a year maybe. That was the one that we had sort of a confrontation a few years ago at my parents' house. The brother below that, very much a healer, I think, in my family as well, and found himself inside of a relationship with a woman he wanted to heal, and she struggles with a lot of I don't know the proper way to say it. Maybe undiagnosed, undealt with, a lot of trauma and mental illness. Mm-hmm. It could be a lot of very explosive, very angry, very drama filled. And so, same thing, text on birthdays and Christmas. I for my mental health, I need to step away from a lot of that toxicity. But when they need me, I answer the phone, and I'll be there no matter what. I just can't have it in my daily life because it makes me suffer. Boundaries has been fascinating. Mm-hmm. And then my youngest brother is amazing. He just had a baby, and I get to hang out with them, and he and his wife are lovely, and that's all good. So that's my family.
How does it feel to have these estranged, to have these sort of, not so deeply personal relationships with your siblings? How does that feel to you?
It used to feel really, really sad. Mm-hmm. Like I will see pictures of all of us when we were kids. I mean, we all moved together. We went through those experiences together. Although I'm very aware that each of us experience it very differently. And so I get a little sad about it. And people are like, talk about their sisters or best friend. And I was like, I have no idea what that would be like. But I do think that it has helped me work with so many of my clients. A lot of my clientele is sort of younger, that early 20s, where they're coming into the place where their parents might not be who they thought they were, or their siblings. And there comes that, like, my parents are supposed to be X, Y, and Z, or my siblings are supposed to be that. And I can take my experiences and speak to, simply because we share blood doesn't mean they get a free pass to treat us however they want to treat us. We still get to have boundaries. We still get to have our words and our feelings around that deserve to be validated, and we get to explore how we feel about our histories and our relationships with them. So I feel as though, as it is sad, it supports me in understanding others' journeys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very well said. I think that probably a lot of people listening can relate to those maybe estranged relationships with siblings or family members. And I think it is important to recognize, just like you said, Angela, we need to create boundaries because at a certain point in our lives, a lot of times it happens in our 20s where we start to look inward and we understand, like, what is right for us. And I think holding on to the family is family and we have to stay loyal archetype or artifice is damaging, and it's not conscious of the inward looking, boundary creating, whole heart self that we need to lead with. What are some for you? What are some of the, maybe just for the listeners, like what are some ways that you've managed to like create those healthy boundaries? Like what kind of steps have you taken? What what has that been looking like for you recently?
Oh my goodness. Like how to create boundaries?
Yeah, just like, because boundaries are hard to create, especially when it comes to family. How have you been able to do that? Like what does that sort of emotional inward journey look like for you?
Oh my goodness. Well, like I said, I was the good girl. And so that was how I was raised. So having boundaries meant like saying no to somebody. Oh my God, I'm a horrible bitch. And so it found me inside of two very emotionally damaging, verbally abusive marriages. And it took a lot. I am very much a questioner. So the four tendencies, if anybody knows that, I'm a questioner with rebel tendencies. I'm a seeker. Like I need to know the why. Insatiable curiosity, dropping down the rabbit hole. That's my whole website, Alice in Wonderland. And so, I mean, everybody was like, "Oh, boundaries." Okay, but what does that even mean? Like, what does that mean? Because some people take it as they get to say no to everything, and there's not a conversation, there's not a question. And I do believe no is a complete statement. However, I also think that when you want to create a conscious relationship with somebody, there needs to be a conversation to be able to connect and meet the other person. So boundaries, I mean, family is one of the hardest. I read a book, oh goodness, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, where I end and you begin, I think is the title. And that was my why. That was my, this is what a boundary is. And this is why I don't have them. In order to understand that I needed to create them and what they were, I needed to understand why I didn't have them. And so that book explains all different scenarios about the way this certain individual in this story was raised and how they had not been raised with boundaries and that had transferred into their adult life. Mm-hmm. So it was little steps. It was terrifying to have a boundary, and partly because I didn't believe that I was worthy of them.
Sure.
That my needs mattered, that I was allowed to say no because what I needed mattered, because my whole life was taking care of everybody else. And that was what mattered more than anything. Yeah. And with my siblings, because I left home when I was 17, I graduated because my birthday's in October. So I graduated at 17 and I left home. My brothers and I they were 9 and 11. So they were a lot younger. So there wasn't really a huge relationship to have boundaries around. My sisters were a bit different. And being clear and open without attacking, I think, is probably the best way for me to describe having boundaries, respecting that they are having their own experience in this and that their experience is valid as well as mine, not being caught up in their experience, staying true to my own. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm answering your question or not.
Totally you are. Yeah, totally you are. It makes me think of the line in Seinfeld where George says, "It's not you, it's me," which is funny. Obviously, it's funny in that context, but the reality is true. Like it's really not about them per se. It is because the grounding and the foundation is in the what do I need? What is right for me emotionally? Like, and that work is hard. As you pointed out, that work is hard.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult.
And not many of us get there.
No, and it's shocking to me. We only live in our own brains, right? And so there's so many people who don't have a clue that their experience isn't the same experience somebody else has because we only live in our brains. Or on the flip side, that oh my God, nobody experiences this the way I do, thinking that you're completely alone when everybody is going through the same human experience, just in a different way. Yeah, it's fascinating because most people don't get there. And it took a lot of introspective work to realize that there are certain things that I can do that other people can't do. We all have our like superpowers. And I used to be angry at my second husband going, why don't you get this? But his brain worked differently than mine. And it took a lot of sort of work and being humble as fuck to realize that other people's experiences aren't the same as ours. And that's quite the shock to the system.
Yeah, it would be maybe easier if everyone's experiences were ours, but
right?
Probably not. I mean, it would be different, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. What, talk to me a little bit about this sort of rabbit hole exploration you're on currently. Like, you use that phrasing on your website, you used it here today. Like, what does that mean to you? Obviously, we all know Alice in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll's wonderful story, but like, what does it mean to you, Angela?
It's changed over the last couple of years since I designed my website. And I check in regularly to see if it still fits. So up until this past summer, so maybe 6-8 months ago, I was still very much focused on fixing my broken self. So part of that rabbit hole was when I would feel triggered about something, or when there was a lot of emotion around something, or I knew that I had a question, where a lot of people that I've worked with, so I can speak from a bit of experience, where you get to that rabbit hole and you can choose to ask the question and take that step and fall and have no idea where it's going to take you, but jumping anyway, or you turn around and walk away. And so for me, that insatiable curiosity of needing to understand why and know where this is going to take me, because I know that this doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good. And so why doesn't it? And where is that going to take me? And so it could be as I sit down with my phone to write on Instagram, or in my women's circle, we have a Facebook women's circle that I've been in for about 3.5 years, or even my journal. I'm a verbal processor. So sometimes it gets on the phone with a girlfriend and just start. And it could take me through, I mean, you could hit your head on things on the way down and it can be painful, excruciating. But once you find the answer, that freedom is like nothing else I've ever experienced. And so that's what my rabbit hole is, where you step forward and you fall into it instead of turning around and walking away. And then this summer, I started to get to the point where maybe I wasn't so broken. Maybe I didn't need to be fixed. Maybe I was just perfect as I was. And that became, in my circle, we talk about walking prayers instead of mantras. I like the reframe on that. Because I know a lot of times mantras I worked with, it's like, but your body knows you're lying. And so they never felt good for me. And
what's the difference? Mantra versus walking prayers?
So for me, the mantra is like, I am safe. That was one that I tried years ago, and I would vomit every time I tried to say it. My body knew that I was lying. And so it didn't matter how much I tried to work with them. They didn't make me feel good. The coach that runs our women's circle, she calls them our walking prayers. And so I've played around with it. I had to decide if it felt good for me or not. And so it was like, well, maybe I can try this on. It didn't feel so forced for me. So my walking prayer was like, well, maybe I'll try this on. Maybe I'll see how this feels. And I'm inside of dating and all the things. And so it became, well, what if I'm just perfect just as I am? And so that became, okay, well, that kind of feels good. That means I don't have to fix anything right now. I'll give it 2 weeks. And if it doesn't work, I'll go back to fixing. And okay, so a feeling would come up, and this is where I would normally like jump down the rabbit hole and like dive into this. And I thought, okay, I'll start making a list of things that I want to dive into once this sort of arbitrary sort of 2-week timeline is up. And then about 3 days in, I started to have this big feeling. And I messaged one of my girlfriends and I'm like, I'm having this. And she goes, okay, so you're having a feeling. So you're perfect just as you are. So you're having this feeling and that's perfect. And I was like, wait a second. I don't have to like fix it. Mind blowing. And that started to change. So now instead of like running at this rabbit hole and launching myself down and smashing myself on the way down, it became, oh, so I can just sort of step forward and fall and see what happens. And that's been a bit of a shift for me because it's more of a surrender than a forced action and acceptance of it. And it feels, I've had to check in to whether that sort of rabbit hole thing still fits for me. And I do believe that it does. It's just the energy around it has shifted. No different than I'm still a healer, but instead of this desperate need to do all the things, now I get to do it because it fills my soul.
Yeah, your why has changed a bit.
Yeah, and the reframe, and that has changed everything. So instead of desperately attaching myself to the outcome because I needed to control everything, now I trust myself and trust that I'm going to get where I need to be and release what that looks like when I get there.
That's really great. And I think it's such an important lesson because the truth is that, even if we're coming from a good place and we want to jump in there and we want to kind of explore it immediately because we have anxiety around it or fear or what have you, the reality is that sometimes, or most of the time, we do need to sit with it because we don't understand it well enough yet. We haven't been in it enough to really allow it to kind of breathe and reveal truths to us. And that is the uncomfortable place. But in that uncomfortable place, as you know, is where we glean the most. Yeah.
Yep. Having to release that need to control it was a huge thing for me.
Yeah.
Like I would squeeze it so tight I would suffocate. Desperate for that answer. So yeah, it's been a really fascinating shift. And I kept thinking that I would get there, like in my anxiety or my depression or my PTSD. It was once I got there, then everything would be better. And so there was this desperate need to fix it. And now, even as recently as just a couple nights ago, I wrote a post and it was like, holy crap. I wrote that I am a whole human, even with my anxiety and my depression. I get to be a mother. I get to be a healer. I get to be a friend. I get to be all these things. And I am worthy of all these things, even with my deeply feeling, empathic human self and my mental illness. That was the first time that I think I ever wrote those words and was able to really believe them. And that was just a few days ago.
Wow.
So I'm not naive enough to think anymore that this journey is going to stop. I'm going to keep learning and keep growing. And if we have the same conversation a year from now, I'll be like, wow, I was that person then and I'm going to be this person now. It's really, yeah.
It's exciting and scary.
Yeah. It's not as scary as it used to be. It used to be terrifying. Now I'm just like, let's see where we go next.
What a great place that is.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned your marriages. What are you doing in these relationships? Are you doing some of this growing? Are you like, why do you think they ended?
Oh, goodness. Why did my marriages end? Well, I mean, that is, we could have a 6-hour conversation about that just in and of itself. Short version, my first marriage, I was very young. We were 19, we got together. He was cute. He balanced a checkbook, and he was the first, I got boobs when I was like 11 years old. He was the first man to not try to rip my clothes off the first time we kissed. So that was like my check marks for why I chose this person. And and then it just kind of stuck. I love my dad, and I now understand where he came from and how he is who he is, but my dad was a yeller. So when 3 months in, when my first husband started to yell, it just was kind of normal.
Mm-hmm.
And we were such completely different humans. So completely different. I don't even know how we managed. We were together for 11 years, married for 7. We had our son, and he was very angry, a lot of PTSD and depression in his world as well. And I was arrogant as fuck, probably. and like, I know better. And so this is what we need to do. I hadn't started doing any of my really deep work yet. And yeah, so on the
Why
other
do you
side
suppose
of it,
the arrogance?
Control,
Sure.
I think.
Yeah.
And accepting that I didn't know. Ooh, I have a huge perfectionist streak. And so if I didn't know the answer, then I couldn't control it, and I wasn't perfect, and oh my goodness, then the whole world would have collapsed for me.
Right.
And I know that our relationship wouldn't have worked anyway. We were very, very different, but I can see on the other side of it my place in it, my undealt with wounds, my inability to. So I could speak up for myself, but it was in this way where I dealt with women most of my career. And so I tell my husband what I think all the time. I'm like, okay, but yelling at him that he's an asshole is not telling him. There's no vulnerability there.
Yeah.
And so I think I was definitely in that frame of mind then. And that was in my 20s. Not realizing that I had needs, but wanting to somehow speak and express that. So then when that ended, just before it ended, I had started seeing a therapist, and I had found Attached, which is the attachment book that lots of my friends are talking about now, whereas it had first come out in, I think, 2008 or 9. And so I was reading it back then and understanding a bit more about that. And then yeah, that relationship went very sideways after we split, and it was a lot of toxicity and drama and court around my son, and very, very messy.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I thank you for that. Now I've been through my second marriage, which pulled in all of the drama from that relationship, from my old relationship and his old relationship, and a blended family and unhealed wounds, and oh my goodness. I've spent the last year working through all of this stuff and realizing how much of it is yours and how much you brought to it. Humbling, like in ways that I could not have imagined. When you start to see, when you're in a safe enough place to start to see your wounds and how they manifest themselves in your relationships, that is one of the most humbling experiences of my life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long did the second marriage last?
We were together 7.5 years, married for 3. And it exploded. It was, I have not talked about this openly on any of my social media platforms because I know that everybody has their own experiences in what happened over the last decade. And I have no desire to point fingers as much as I used to because I was really angry. We had my son's stepmom and my now ex-husband's ex-wife become friends, and in their desire to remove me from the situation. So it became a very, very messy, very, very messy, drama-filled experience.
Yeah. That's tough.
It was very, very tough. I almost didn't make it out of that alive, but I'm glad that I did. And now I can see their perspectives, and I can see their human experiences inside of that decade. And I have empathy for them and what they would have gone through that I couldn't have had when I was in it, because I couldn't see it, because I was so in my own experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. I think it is hard to when we're in a volatile thing, when we're in a thing where in an experience where we, whether it's the other person or just the circumstances, our own limitations, where we don't have space to to think emotionally and to think on that plane. Like, it's, of course we're not gonna find that emotional intelligence that we need until we're outside of it.
For sure. If you look at, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you don't have safety, you can't move up.
Yeah.
And so until I removed myself from the whole situation and spent about 6 months even just getting to the point where I started to feel safe, could I even start to do any of the work to heal it, to realize it. I mentioned a little while ago, I am safe was something I couldn't say. That was a mantra that I could not say. It would make me physically ill. Now, today, I can tell you, I am safe. I am safe because I got my own back and I can handle what comes towards me. But there's no way I could have said that before. I was so in survival mode and in protection mode that there's no way I could have said that before, especially inside of that decade of my life.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy to hear that you found this safety.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's work. And anybody who says that it isn't, I think, is lying. I don't want to generalize, but
and they're just not seeing the truth yet. They have blinders on.
Yeah, for sure.
How are, post-divorce, how are your relationships going? Whether romantic or otherwise, like how are those?
Changing on a month-to-month basis. This last year has been unbelievable. So I have been online dating, which is an experience all in and of itself. And my girlfriends would be on me about stop dating, because I'm very deeply feeling, and I'm a 4, which is all about, deeply wanting to know that love. And each time I would spend time with a man or experience their story or share mine, and then when it would end, it was like, I feel everything very deeply, which I used to think meant there was something wrong with me. And now I just know this is who I am. And some of my girlfriends who are a bit different than me, a bit more grounded and not so, I feel everything with the extreme, used to go, oh my God, stop. And now they're like, oh, but I see how you step fully into this and you're fully in. And then when it ends, it's painful, but the growth that happens. So I would say, the different people that I spent time with in the last 12 months have changed me in a way that I don't know that I could have the words to express the gratitude that I have for them. And I've healed so much of my past marriages through those experiences. Like being able to step into a relationship, whether it be a month or 6 weeks, and something that one of my exes would have done, I was able to have a boundary in it now and to express how I felt about it in the present and to heal backwards. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say my romantic relationships have been fascinating and challenging and so much growth, finding the ability to have a need and to express it and to experience being respected, having my needs honored was something I'd never experienced before. And so even if that relationship or when that relationship ended, having somebody validate that experience for me or validate my needs shifted. Okay, I have evidence now that this exists in my world. And so I was able to take that into the next experience. So that's been super fascinating. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
It does. It does.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, and it makes sense. Like, so, pardon me if this is too forward, but one of the things I've noticed about your just yourself and your online presence is, you being in touch with your sexuality.
Yeah.
And how has that been? Like, what kind of growth have you made in that way?
We're gonna die. Okay, as long as my mom doesn't hear this podcast, we can die. Oh my goodness.
Hey, we all have sex, even your mom.
I know. I've heard them. And my mom's a Scorpio, so we're very high. Okay, so holy shit, that's quite the question. My sexuality has changed in so many levels over the last year, from experiencing partners who actually wanted to understand what I liked and didn't like. That was never in my experience in my past relationships. To not be shamed for having a high sex drive. I mean, I'm going to generalize for a second, but I feel like a 16-year-old boy in my life. And I always have. A lot of men are like, oh, that's because you're in your late 30s. I was like, nah, that's been there the whole time. But there was a lot of shame in that growing up, very Catholic. So there was shame.
Sure.
And then my son's dad, who I met at 19, we were each other's firsts. And so there was shame in that. And both of my marriages for that. Wanting to explore out of the normal, simply vanilla, was shamed as well. Wanting to experience different partners, that was something that I had a lot of shame around. And meeting men in open relationships who encourage that exploration shifted shame for me as well. It was a year of 2018, dude. I mean, all of the emotional exploration, healing, sexuality. And I referenced earlier, I mean, I hit puberty and boobs and hips all very young.
Yeah.
So that has been, and then repressed sexual trauma. So it's always been this, that's all that men want, and therefore that's who I need to show up in order to get their attention, but then wanting it, but then feeling used or degraded. There was always that very big push-pull because I hadn't been able to heal my shame around my sexuality. So as I started to heal that, I was able to shift. There's a new gentleman that I'm speaking with, and he made a joke, and it instantly triggered, oh, he just wants sex. And I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with Byron Katie's work.
I'm not.
Okay. So I went really deep into it at the beginning of my healing journey, and I attached so much shame to it. It was sort of flipping things around and seeing where your place was in it. But at the time, I didn't have enough. I didn't have my own back. And so it was just, oh my God, I've screwed everything up. But it was, so I can look back at it now and see. So it's when I have this question or this assumption that, oh, he made a joke, therefore all he wants is sex. Okay, well, is that true? Is her question. Is it true? Do I know that without a shadow of a doubt that that's all he wants from me? Well, no, I can't know that. And it's interesting because I had made that assumption in a few of my experiences or relationships over the last year, and found men to be very deeply offended that was my assumption, and me going, well, I don't understand. Isn't that the way men are wired? Mm-hmm. And so it's been a very enlightening journey over the last year to see men in a very different way and stop my own stereotypes, which was then therefore a protection around them and a protection around my shame. And it's been very interesting. So this was just last night. It's like, okay, well, then no, I can't know that for certain. Well, then how do I show up with this person when I believe that thought?
Mm-hmm.
Because then we create our realities. I really do believe that. Whatever glasses we're wearing is how we see the world. And so if I believe that thought, then I see him with those lenses, and then I show up according to that belief. And so it can really sort of shift how I look. So that's my work right now. I am nowhere near feeling completely comfortable, but I know that I am leaps and bounds, light years ahead of where I was 12 months ago, even 6 months ago. So
yeah. Is it about having no lenses at all?
I don't know if it's possible for us to do that. Do you think it is?
I don't know because I hear you. I know that it's problematic bringing certain prejudices, preconceptions, ideas based on our own sort of experiences and traumas. Like we all bring those to experiences. Is there a way to isolate those and come to a thing completely free of those? I don't know. Probably not.
I don't think that we can. I think we're human beings. I don't think God or whoever you want to. I went down a journey of yoga and really thought that that's who I needed to be, emotionless and free and non-judgmental. And it almost destroyed me. I wrote a blog post a couple of years ago about how spirituality made me sicker, because I really believe that in order to be healed and to be a worthy human of love and my needs, that I needed to have no judgments and no reactions and no human emotions. And I couldn't do that because I don't think we can. I think we're human beings. We're not gods. And it made me so depressed and so anxious. And so I think where I am today is of the belief that our experiences make us who we are. And I don't want those to go away, because my experiences allow me to be a more empathic and kind and compassionate human being. I don't think I'd want it all to go away. I think the goal is to know that we have the glasses on and to be aware of that, to surrender to that being part of who we are, to know that when this happens, this is how I react to it, and how can I have compassion for myself in that reaction.
Mm-hmm.
My tagline that I've kind of come up with recently on my website is, what if we can love ourselves better instead of shaming ourselves into submission? And so I think through that love and adoration of who we are and what we've been through and the glasses that we're wearing today, because I think even throughout the day, our lenses can change depending on what neuro connections are being made in our brain that we can't control, but that we can accept, and that we can love ourselves through that. I don't think we'll ever get rid of the glasses that we're wearing in some way or shape or form.
Yeah, that's well said. Is Catholicism still a part of your life?
It is not. Well, not in a practice, but in shame and healing, I would say probably yes.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. I was wondering if the core of shame came from that Catholic upbringing.
I don't know that the core of it came from that. I don't know that I can speak to that. But I do know that it has been a lot of things that I've needed to undo and work through, for sure, especially around my sexuality. For sure. So, yes, I would say it still affects me.
Why do you suppose you no longer practice?
I don't believe in it. I watched this is getting very...
and to be clear, that wasn't none of these questions are couched in any judgment whatsoever. I don't know what I believe. I don't necessarily believe in a Judeo-Christian sort of version of God, but I also am open to the idea of there being a higher power of some kind. I just don't know, and so I'm probably agnostic but open-hearted to new ideas. That's where I'm at.
Yes, I would say I'm very similar, and I've spoken many times about my why and needing to understand. And I have used the word God on this podcast because that's been my frame of reference for it. I just think that the whole hell and punishment and doing whatever bad thing and then asking for forgiveness and it just all goes away just doesn't sit well with me. I just don't like it. I don't like the way that I grew up seeing my dad's parents, very, very, very Catholic, church every day, being the most judgmental human beings that I've ever met. That doesn't sit well with me.
Doesn't line up.
It doesn't line up. It feels like you don't get to decide that you're better than anybody else simply because of what you believe.
Right.
And so because of those experiences, I have stepped away. I think that there is so much judgment and so much shame. And I fully believe that whatever the higher power is up there, would be very sad to see that that's how they are being used in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I have stepped away. Do I believe that there is something up there? I think that there is. Do I believe it's a single entity? I don't know. I do believe that we are all connected in some way, shape, or form. We're all having this human experience down here. So very, I would say, skeptical and open-minded at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm still hoping for Care Bears existing.
Oh, the Care Bear stare, man!
I mean, come on. Who doesn't love a sweet, cuddly little bear that like projects love onto you through their bellies?
See, that's what I try to do. That's so funny because I will like ask permission, but I will hug all of the people that will let me, and it's just so that I can love them. It's so funny. Like, oh, I'm a Care Bear. That just made me laugh.
I'm a hugger too. I love hugs. They're the best. I need hugs all the time.
Oh, physical affection. Well, I mean, it's the oxytocin. It's all of the scientific reasons for needing it too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's how. I mean, I in the past couple of years, this is it. My sort of growth journey is figuring out like how do I love? How do I like to receive love? And certainly touch is a huge one for me.
Huge, and it's not for everybody. It's shocking to me. I actually, I love just being open and curious. There's a girl that I work with, and she is not a toucher. And I have become very good at asking permission because I now understand. And her and I were having our first conversation the first day we worked together, and we were talking, and I said something, and she goes, "Oh, well, you sound like my therapist." I was like, okay, well, I'm going to take that as a good thing because that means I've said something very intelligent. And she's talking about this attachment style, and I get really into that. And she's like, oh, yeah, they told me to read this book. And I was like, oh, my God, I need to hug you. And I stepped forward and I hugged her, which is very unlike me because I'm very much about asking permission. And I stepped back and she's like, I don't like being touched. I was like, oh, my gosh, of all the people that I did that to. Oh my God. And so I apologized all over myself and she laughed. And then she was on vacation and she came back and I looked at her and she's like, yes, you're allowed to hug me. I was gone for a long time. That's okay. And so I laughed. There was a guy I was seeing and I love to touch, but that repetitive, like up, down, up, down, up, down. I'm like, oh God, stop touching me. And so I was explaining this to her and she goes, that's how I feel with any touch that lasts longer than about 2 seconds. And I was like, oh my God, now I understand.
Right.
And so it's a matter of just being able to find some frame of reference in your own world to understand where they were coming from. I'm like, that's how you feel when I touched you? And she's like, yeah. Like, holy shit, dude, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Anyway, so that's, to realize that not everybody feels that same way about touch was mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, I think it's a good sort of overarching lesson in the need for meeting people where they are, because we're all bringing different language and different experiences to our relationships. And I think no one way is right. No one way is wrong. There aren't rights or wrongs,
No. And that was part of my arrogance that I needed to really work through, was thinking that I knew the right way. Man, that's a ego-driven, terrified, shame-filled place to be in. But I was, and I work really hard to make sure that I'm not anymore.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Like it sounds like you're really, in touch with your emotions and your feely human space in the world. I love the fact that you keep using my phrasing feely human. It makes me very happy.
Well, I love it.
Thank you. It sounds like you're making just beautiful progress as a feely human. And how are you processing that stuff? You mentioned writing, your practice. Like what other ways are you sort of processing that healing and inward looking?
I think honestly, writing is such a huge thing for me, and conversations. I'm such a word person. So, like I have a 12-year-old son, and he has been my greatest teacher in so many ways. Learning how to parent him and validate his feelings and respect his experience has been overarching in all of my relationships, even my relationship with myself. There was, therapists talk about, your wounded inner child, and what would you say to your son? It's like, well, I don't know. I peed on a stick and I got a positive test. Like, nobody told me how to talk to him. So I don't know how I would even talk to myself. So learning to, be a better mom and a better human for him has been a big piece of my healing. And so I think words, dude, seriously, whether it's writing or having a conversation with him, connecting with other humans and having conversations with them, my dating, that has blown my mind. Having conversations and learning how to hold space inside of my own fears around men has all changed it. I have regular conversations. I have tried meditating on many times. And I don't love if I start to feel like I have to do something, I will run in the other direction. So,
I relate to that.
Yeah. And so if I try to force myself to do something, I won't do it. But I have a Nidra journey that I found with, she's a yoga instructor, a shamanic healer. And so she has this Liminal Roots podcast, and she does Nidra journeys. And I started listening to that when my insomnia was really bad. And so that's about the extent of my meditation that I do. I put it on every night when I go to bed, and that's been good. A lot of it has been really getting to hear my ego or my inner self, my little child, and having conversations with her. So I would say most of my work is all to do with words. Yes.
One of my goals for 2019 is to get back to a regular writing practice, because it is a thing I love to do. It is something I believe I'm good at, and I've been doing for most of my career. And over the last year, I really haven't had a regular writing practice, and I have a book idea that I want to work on.
Woo!
Yeah. What is your practice like? How do you stay disciplined? What does that look like for you?
If I used any of those words, I would not do it.
That's fair.
Like, honestly, if I had to think of it as a practice that I needed to be disciplined in doing, I would completely stop doing it.
Okay, that's interesting. I think I relate to that. Tell me more.
Well, in the 4 tendencies, so I think her name is Gretchen. Do I have the book up? Gretchen Rubin, maybe?
Gretchen Rubin?
She talks, yeah. I think that's her name. Hold on. I'm going to actually like Google this while we're talking. I wonder if I can do that because I want to make sure I have her name right. She talks about the 4 different tendencies that she found. And so, Gretchen Rubin. I am a questioner with rebel tendencies. So I need to understand the why of all of the things. So I will stick with something. So I will do something. And the rebel in me needs to get behind the feeling of it. Because if I try to put myself into a box, I'm going to run around and turn in the other direction. Then there is, I apologize if she will ever hear this because I'm probably going to massacre her whole thing.
I only wish Gretchen Rubin listened to Yumi Empathy. Come on, Gretch. I like to call her Gretch.
And the upholders and, oh my God, my brain. What is the last one?
Obliger,
yes,
questioner,
that's what it
rebel,
is.
upholder.
Are you looking at this or do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm looking it up.
Okay,
I'm going to take this quiz. I'm excited.
Yeah, I am a questioner. I speak in questions. Even on this podcast, it's like, does that answer your question? Like, does that make sense? I speak in questions, and very much rebel tendencies. So my thoughts matter than anybody else. So if somebody expects me to do something, I get really, really like my backup. Whereas an obliger, that's what they need. They need somebody's expectations for them to be able to do the thing. Mm-hmm. So if we talk about like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to eat better. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, let's do it together because that motivation gets me to do it. I'm like, that does nothing for me. I need to find it in myself in order to do it. I would rather
I relate to that strongly.
Yeah. So you're probably something similar to me. Whereas there's some women in my women's circle who need that check-in. That's what motivates them, where it actually turns me off and I will choose not to do it simply because of that. So now that we've gone off on a bit of a tangent, my writing, I need to have the feeling behind it in order to stick with it. I need to understand the why. So when I started the Instagram that I have now, it was actually under an alias. I needed a space to be me away from the people in my old life that was finding my words and having some not nice things to say about them. I will leave it at that. Mm-hmm. So I created an alias. She had an Instagram, a Facebook, an email address, all of the things, and I blocked every single person in my real life from it. So I could find a space to be this person. I was able to talk about sexuality. I was able to talk about my anxiety and my depression and write these intense words. And part of the women's circle that I'm in, we started out by taking pictures of ourselves and selfies and seeing ourselves through this lens. And that changed my world. But so many of my friends were all, poo-poo about selfies and how narcissistic it was. And I had a whole space to be me. And when I started writing, I felt freedom. And so I can get behind that. That rebel in me goes, okay, well, this feeling is what I want. And so I will keep doing it. And then the questioner, well, why do I do this? Why does this match up with my purpose? Well, I write and I have people that go, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I feel like I'm not alone. Well, there's my why. And so there is no discipline in it for me. It's all about the feeling. And when I was inside of the last few weeks of the move and the divorce and the job change and the business starting, I couldn't write. I couldn't even form 2 thoughts together. And I started to feel really shitty about myself. Like, why aren't you doing this? And there was some judgment going on until I was like, you're under so much stress right now. We just need to do the next thing and then we'll find our way out. And I think that's why inside of those 3 weeks, which I think you asked me at the very beginning, how am I in such a good space? And I think it was just giving myself permission to only do what I need to do to get through, because I know now, which I didn't know before, that I will find my way out of it. I never trusted that. And now I know that these feelings are only temporary, which I didn't know before. So
that's beautiful. And I think it gives, certainly gives me hope, but I think it's a very hopeful message as well.
Yeah. It's amazing. This women's circle that I've been in, her name is Hannah Marcotti, and I followed her for almost a year before I stepped in. I had been inside of a circle of people before, and it ended up being really toxic. And I was really sort of terrified after that experience to step into this one. And these women, who all know I'm going to be on your podcast and they can't wait to listen to it,
Woo!
are the most amazing and supportive and hugely feely human beings that I have ever had the honor of being a part of. These women know more about me than anybody. They all didn't know what my real name was until we used to do just like month-long circles or 6-month-long circles. And we started a full year one back in May. And it wasn't until we got on our first video call where I had to choose what name to put in. And only a few of them knew what my real name was until last May. And they have been amazing and supportive. And they one of the women refers my journey as a love story of having this alias and then falling in love with her and becoming her. It's really
that's
how she describes it.
Amazing.
They always say that be you and the world will adjust. Well, that's all fine in theory, except when you have an entire world that expects you to be one way, it's very difficult to just be you. That comes with a lot of, backlash. And so this was my way of becoming me in the world. And I don't know if so much the world adjusted or that I adjusted myself. I don't know. But.
Yeah. Well, we can't adjust the world. We can only adjust ourselves, right?
Exactly. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's so it makes me so happy that you have this happy, feely place.
I do, and they're lovely. And I know when I get triggered by them, I got stuff to do in my own self. So, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about, before we kind of start wrapping up here, about the business that you started and that work.
Oh, okay. So it's terrifying, and it's like my baby. And I'm still trying to really firm up the details and what I want it actually to look like. So I've been an esthetician for 20 years. And on a lot of my facials or pedicures, I mean, just through a conversation, through seeing somebody and being an empath, feeling them and intuitive and hearing what's not being said, and going through my own stuff, being able to just ask them questions and hear them. And all of a sudden, the moment where you can see their entire world shift, whether you want to say their perception changes, their glasses fall off. Like, I listened to Dr. Gordon Neufeld speak. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He wrote Hold On to Your Kids. And he talks about that moment where there's tears, where the brain actually, he was talking in all these psychologist terms, but where whatever happens in your neurons, but there's that moment where tears come and it's the release. And that's when things change. I was like, oh shit, I've been doing that for years with people. I didn't know that's what was happening. And so I love it. I love that. And I want to get back to that because I miss that piece of fulfillment in my life. So my son and I have moved into a bigger home so I can still be there for him, because being his mom is kind of a big deal for me and keeping him feeling safe in his world. So I'm going to work from home. Our new place is designated business and residential. And the main floor has a room on either side of the front door and a bathroom right there. It's set up very well for my treatments. So what it's going to be is intuitive treatment. So intuitive facials and pedicures. So you still get that treatment. So whether you want to call it a beauty treatment, but also the physical touch, which is such a big piece for people. If you're not comfortable with hugs or things like that, getting a pedicure or a facial can be a little bit safer because there's no expectations in return for that. Mm-hmm. And it creates that connection with somebody else. And to be able to have that conversation with somebody who doesn't know you, who isn't invested in your life. It's not it doesn't have any bearing on me whether you choose to heal or not. I'm not invested in your life other than I want to hear you and support you. I'm also a Reiki practitioner, so whether energy work is something that you believe in or not, I have seen huge differences in people through that energy treatment. I'm a bit of a science person. I need to have evidence. So seeing the changes, feeling the energy, being able to feel what they're going through and to be able to feel it shift and see the results after. I love it. So that has been a piece as well. And so I do a little bit of that, 10, 15 minutes in each of my treatments. So it's kind of a body, mind, and soul all in one treatment. I'm still trying to figure out how to, I don't like the word sell it, but sell it to the world, to market it so that I can actually help people. If nobody knows what I do, then they can't come and have it done. So I need to the language of it. But that's what I do. So I've asked a lot of my women in my women's circle, where a lot of us are HSP, so highly sensitive, empathic, and what makes it feel safe for them. So whether it's soft fabrics or no sense or light music, like whatever it makes for their senses to feel soothed in order to come in. Just wanting a place that feels really safe for people to come and heal and feel supported, and using my aesthetics as the vehicle to get there.
I love it. That sounds what a beautiful, admirable, choice that is.
Thank you. There's a project. There's a campaign that was started by women in Calgary here, because that's where I am. And she just recently has gone nonprofit because she really wants to make this a thing. It's called Project Nightlight, YYC. And it started because her daughter was going through a lot of bullying and in like 7 years old, and some really intense, scary things happening, and wanting to bring light to the stigma around mental illness. And so my story was shared on that back in October. And last night, we all got together and she asked some questions about it, and it was on video. And I want to be able to work with her campaign to be able to bring what I do to the world and to share hers as well. And so that's kind of the direction I'm going. So I got to be on her video yesterday and speak with you today. It's been really awesome.
Good for you. Well, it's very brave.
It's absolutely terrifying, but I had a little chat with my little inner child who wants to protect me from all the things like our ego does, right? And when she tells me I'm going to sound like an idiot as we're on this recording, or I'm going to look like an idiot as I was on this video yesterday, and I thank her for protecting me forever. And I validate that she's terrified and that everybody seeing us could be really scary. But I also know that what I have to give the world and my story is more important to share than being scared of it. So
absolutely.
I'm here.
You're here, and it's beautiful, and you're beautiful, and you're not an idiot, and you didn't sound like an idiot. And
thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for your business, and I think it will reach people because you are creating a safe space. Like, generally, that's what you're doing, and we all, as humans, need to do that in our communities.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about empathy heroes. This is the part of the show where each of us mention an empathy hero, someone in our lives. They could be characters from books or movies, or just like a quote we love from an author or what have you. Just someone who's just a good empathy hero. And so I'll go first to give you a moment to think on that. My empathy hero this week is a colleague of mine, Jess. Her name's Jess, and recently my team, I work, my full-time job is, it's like a remote team. There's 10 of us, and we do writing and editing and marketing. We do all podcasting. We do all sorts of things, and I do love my team, and Jess is the one that sort of set up this little mini retreat we had. And she was just very attentive to our individual needs and very caring and asking questions and just making sure everyone had a really lovely time. And I certainly did. And I just wanted to shout out Jess for being there for us and being there for me in my, weird tum issues and my anxieties and all those things. So Jess is my empathy hero this week.
Oh, I love that.
Thanks. How about you?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so when you first asked the question, it was like, oh my God, I got to pick one? Like, what the heck? And the person that popped into my head, I met about a year and a half ago when I left my old life behind. She ended up becoming my boss, which she hates when I call her that, so maybe supervisor. She was the chocolate maker at this job that I ended up. So I was her assistant. I was the assistant to the chocolatier. Oh my goodness, all of the chocolate. And really did not want to engage in a friendship. And I wiggled my way in anyway, as I was going through missing my stepkids and going through the end of a marriage and dating and all of the things. And there would be days when I came to work and I knew that I had all of the feelings and I didn't know what to do with them. And she was ridiculous and notorious for like poking me, or she could see it all over my face and would say something or ask a question to get me to start crying. And then she's like, okay, you're crying. Now we can have a conversation. So the one day I was wrapping chocolates and she came over and she's like, I'm going to help you. I was like, all right, well, that's weird. And she started singing a song to me. I don't know who it is, but it's I Love How You Love Me. And I was like, what, are you kidding? What are you doing to me today? And so I started to cry, and then she would hug me and then we would talk. And so her name is Amy Horn, which she may kill me for putting her on this podcast, but her name is Amy Horn, and she now has her own chocolate company called Goldie Chocolate out of Calgary. She roasts her own cacao beans, and she's lovely. And she is my empathy hero because she has been there watching me grow and evolve through all of this. And there were days where I would just start crying and then she'd just hug me, even though she's not a big hugger and she really didn't want to be emotionally involved with anybody she worked with, but she let me in. So She's my hero.
Yay,
yeah.
Amy.
I know, right?
Yes. That's lovely. I love it.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, Angela, where can our Feely listeners connect with you online?
Instagram is the easiest. I don't use my Facebook. I eliminated Facebook 2 years ago, which was one of the best things I ever did for my anxiety, other than for my women's circle, and it's still under my alias. So Instagram is probably the best place to find me. It's where I do my writing. Fierce Wild Love Freedom is my Instagram name, and my website is theshadowside.ca.
Lovely. Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for being on You Me Empathy.
It was wonderful and not nearly as scary as I thought it would be.
Yeah, see, I told you, you were great.
Thank you. It was an honor.
Of course. And to you listeners, I'm here, you're here, we're here together on this wayward, overwhelming, awe-inspiring pale blue dot. We have each other. It's You Me Empathy.